Hello, hello! Welcome to VGM Together. I'm the first panel of the convention. Super glad to be here. My name is Souffle, so Souffle Shark, as some people know me. I'm sort of like a furry Superman to a VGM Clark Kent. But I'm super excited to be here today because I'm going to be talking with you about bringing your OCs to life through music, especially music composition. And so, before we even begin for something like that, you may ask, what is an OC? Why would I want to have music for it? And that's something that I can totally explain to you. So OCs are original characters, and if you want to broaden the definition a little bit, can say original creations. For example, this character that you see here is my original creation. Souffle is a fuzzy shark kaiju. I just kind of mashed every monster kind of thing together in just some cool little critter. And in terms of like original creation, this VR chat world I'm in is Anti-Heat's apartment. This is a VR chat world made by Anti-Heat, and their whole world, like this is a city. You can walk around everywhere back here, right? And it has its own lore and story and characters within it. And a lot of people make OCs for a wide variety of reasons. So maybe you are wanting to make a character to explore part of yourself. Maybe you're wanting to have a creative outlet and tell a story or something like that. Or maybe you're just a furry and want a persona. It's whatever. It's whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to make a VR chat model. Whatever it be, it's pretty sweet. And so, but there's also other applications for it. There are Final Fantasy XIV servers that are RP servers, which means roleplay. Basically, they will act their character, right? Maybe you're the World of Light, maybe you're the Warrior of Light. Maybe you're a baker. Maybe you're like the most rambunctious black mage. And you want to connect with that character, and maybe you want to get some cool art of it, get some cool music of it. And music is one of the best ways to do that, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about music composition and how I've done that. My main electronic music is called Kaijuba Music, and I've been doing commissions for streamers, for people for their Final Fantasy characters, for D&D sessions, things like that. So speaking of, one of the best ways to have bringing your character to life with music is to kind of pull from the sources it's from. You want to make a song and you want to connect it. So let's take Final Fantasy XIV as an example, right? One of my first commissioners that I put up on stream, his name is Sigil. He has this very cool Hrothgar character, right? And he came to me with this and his Sona, as you can see here. A very cool, like Hrothgar, flaming kind of mage type thing, his 14 character is an astrologian, right? And so he wanted to have something to match that character and have something that fit the style and theme of music from Final Fantasy XIV. So what I would do is I would start with some basic references and build music on top of that, right? So, of course, I had his art pieces. And then he gave me some music references. So if you're familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, there's a raid series called Alexander, and this music is very kind of electronic robot-y with some cool synths and rock elements in it. And he gave me one of those to be an inspiration. So I wrote this track. It's called Mysterium of Hope. And it is, the very beginning of it is very inspired by the Alexander raid music from Final Fantasy XIV. So let's take a listen to a little bit. You might hear some similarities. Maybe taking some motifs or things like that from a game that you like. Adapted Final Fantasy main theme. All right, before I go on to the next part, so the beginning was very mystical. He is a astrologian. He wanted to have some elements in the music that reflected that kind of mysterious mage. His character, he also gave me lore and some information about his character, right? So it told me a little bit about the temperament of this character, what this character uses for magic, what is their goals, their hopes and dreams, things like that, and sort of an alignment of what this character is in terms of their personality and how they interact in the world. And so they wanted to have some music to reflect that. So the beginning of it is very mysterious, where this character enjoys using both healing magic and like white magic and black magic in terms of like the Final Fantasy world. And then the second thing he sent to me was another series of raid music. One from the newest expansion, Endwalker, and one from Shadowbringers. I'm not going to show the music examples they gave here because they're sort of spoilery. I want to keep it as vague as possible because if you haven't played Final Fantasy XIV, you absolutely should. But so the commissioner Sigil told me that his character, when faced with a task, he doesn't like to fight, but he will do what he must, and he will heal his allies, and if he is called upon, he'll have to, burn his enemies or something like that, right? So I wanted to write a theme for the second half that resembles that, and resembles him as the Warrior of Light. So in the first part, I took examples straight from Final Fantasy in terms of the Alexander raid. This one is pulling more from Endwalker. It's very close to a direct quote, and sort of represents a call to action that this character has. Sigil's character has sort of a background behind it as well, and I wanted to make sure that I matched that. Something fitting of a Warrior of Light, right? Okay, let's take a listen to the second half. People who play Endwalker might recognize some of this, huh? The bass line, that's right, Darth Plagueis. I love bass. I'm a lover of the bass, whether it be electronic music, classical, jazz, whatever it may be. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure something groovy. I really just imagined his character, and I'll pull his character up again to show how cool it is. But I just imagined this kind of character in the world, like fighting, and his design is really cool, very fiery, very kind of like, magic and mystical. And I wanted to represent that in the music. And this is something that can be really helpful for people who are making characters. Like, of course, you want to get art of your character, like Sigil has here. But music can help elevate that a little bit more. I have had commissioners who've gotten music who would use that in their D&D campaigns. So maybe a dungeon master, right, will have, a dungeon master might have like a playlist or whatnot, or maybe they want to show something when one of the players in the game does something really, really cool, and no better way than just to hit play on your playlist and let the players like really get into that moment and connect with not only their character they're playing, but the moment they're playing as well. So the next thing I want to show in terms of characters and how you can bring to characters to life in music, sometimes both the creation of the character and music can happen at the same time. So the next three very short tracks I want to show are one of a commissioner who did a night type theme. Let me pull that up here. Here's a photo of the character. So This character was inspired by a game called Spiral Knights. Some of the same people who worked on Spiral Knights went on to make Slime Rancher and Slime Rancher 2, especially the art director. And my friend who commissioned me wanted to make a knight character. He wanted to eventually turn it into a model and put it in VR chat. He wanted to create some stories with this character, and he wanted to do something with like VTubing, where if you get a PNG, as in like a movable photo or a GIF of a character, and stream with it and stuff like that. And so this theme, these three themes I'm about to show, would double not only as information about the character, right? Not only information about the character, their backstory, their motivations and things like that, but it also doubled as like stream music. It was how they were going to open their stream. It's what they would use on the BRB screen when they need to take a break, right? And it was shown through like the ending screen. They wanted to have like a heartfelt like thank you and things like that. And while they haven't started streaming quite yet, or else I would totally shout them out, they're still in the process of putting this all together. Writing the music alongside of this character being made is super cool, because the commissioner was giving feedback to the artist to visually show and get what he was looking for, and then he would show that art and more information to me. And then I would get to, be a part of this creative process together. And it's something really, really cool. And it was a way for him to really connect with this character and start up a new chapter, right? So I'm going to play 3 quick tracks. We'll talk about them in between. This is the main theme for the knight character, and he wanted something jovial, kind of like a knight character who's like has the kind of rambunctious like positive attitude that like someone like Shovel Knight would have, right? But nothing too serious, but nothing too goofy as well. So I found something in between, and he wanted some interesting chords. So don't try to music theory the chords for the beginning, because your head will explode. But enjoy. You hear some of the inspirations come from not only Spiral Knights, but maybe some older Super Nintendo type themes as well. Repeating the A theme, of course. But it's something he wanted, like a knight kind of, something that you would think the trumpets would sing. You would hear someone be like, "Here comes the knight," kind of thing. Then I had to add a disco section, because gotta have disco. Thank you. I'm glad you like the synth patches. Alright, I'm gonna stop it there. But yeah, this track goes on for a little bit longer. But yeah, he wanted this as an intro. Not only is this gonna be the theme for the character, and it's going to be the first thing people listen to when they pop up that stream. But it's something that it's both the main theme. It's going to be opening the stream, and it sets the mood, right? Music is often like setting the mood or setting the scene for something to happen. And the very beginning of that is very important. And so I wrote this in a way that combines. Here, I'll turn this down, have it playing a little bit while I talk. Wrote this in a way that both combines the character, my artistic interpretation of the character, given the information, but also of the references he sent. So he sent me some references from, obviously, Spiral Knight, from, I think, Shovel Knight, and I think we also had some references from Mega Man. And so I took some of those aspects of those because you have to break down of like, okay, why does the commissioner like these particular pieces? Why does he want this, to be a part of his character? Sometimes you may come with, oh, it's the sound of the lead synth. Oh, it's the sound of the bass, or something like that. And you can pick apart those. And part of the really fun part about creating themes for these characters is getting these references and picking things apart and making it your own to fit what they want here. But this one wasn't particularly fun. This was actually the first commission I did. I guess it was back last year. Yeah, about last summer. It's a lot of fun. So he actually commissioned 3 pieces. I only have four fingers, so can't keep counting, can I? So he commissioned 3 pieces. So the second one, he wanted a sort of a BRB screen, right? But he also, and I'll show you a picture of the knight again. He also wanted it to convey that maybe the knight, his journey isn't over. Like, this knight is very, he's good, he's powerful, but it doesn't mean he's invulnerable. And he stressed that he wanted a track to say something along the lines of, this is really hard, this is really scary, but you have to keep going. And sort of he wanted a way for it to reflect that, right? And so what I did in this track is made something a bit more scary sounding. Might fit a little bit more with Halloween coming up. But I imagined something in 2 different ways. Not only a night, I thought about the bonfires and how you would be in the background of a very like broken down city or something along of like Dark Souls, right? But with a kind of safety that comes from a safe room in like Silent Hill, right? So you want to simultaneously say, it's safe here, it's not safe outside, and enjoy the rest while you can, kind of thing. So here is the second track I did for his knight character. Had to put in a fugue type part. Just had to. And it just kind of loops forever. Basically, something you can just put on the BRB screen, and come back. But yeah, so this knight character, through music, I'm basically telling a story. I told in the first piece a very lighthearted, uplifting introduction of the character, in a way you can tell who they are, what kind of knight they are. And then in this track is something a bit more quiet, more chill, a looming danger of uneasy, but a temporary safety. And so I, of course, took his suggestions for, like Dark Souls and Silent Hill to heart. And then I thought of also a little bit of Celeste and a little bit of Bach, basically. And created this, something that I think really works to set the mood. And it's just super, super cool to do, especially for live streams. Live stream music is super neat because, especially now, a lot of VTubers and streamers in general really like to do story type things. There's VTubers who have backgrounds for their characters, right? And they'll do a big like reveal for their character and have like a movie or something to explain their character, and then like play the part when they're on stream and stuff like that. It's just really, really cool. And speaking of, finally, the last track for this one is about the knight sort of succeeding in what his goal is, and thanking all the people and the party members along the way and who helped him. He wanted this to be a sort of end of a journey, not the journey, but a journey type thing, but also wanted it to sound as a thank you for watching the stream type of thing. And so for this, he had a couple of like alternative rock, like music examples. And I had a few ideas based on not only what he told me about the character. I kept seeing updates of this character being made throughout the process. So after I finished the first two songs, maybe all I saw was a colorless sketch, and then later on I see the full photo. And things like that. And so it got really, really cool to see the progression. So I got to write this as a thank you in many ways. And one of my big inspirations for it was Doug Perry's ending live stream music. He was playing Undertale on marimba, and I was like, I want something that makes me feel like that. It's like the comfortable like that comfortable like thank you, but it just feels like really good and really wholesome. Like I love it every time. I almost cry every time. But so here is the last track I did for the knight character. A post-boss theme. That's exactly what he, one of the things he suggested to me. Right there was a quoting the first track of the Knight's theme. It's gonna quote again. Back to the main theme. Yes. I'll talk more after the song's over. Then it just pretty much keeps repeating. But yes, light motifs are awesome, especially if you're writing for multiple pieces for a character or something like that. It's a great way in general, because you hear it in video games, you hear it in movies. Like, you hear a theme and you're like, oh, that's so-and-so's themes. Or you'll be listening to some other piece of music, right? And you'll hear this theme and be like, oh, is this character involved somehow? I hear their theme, I think. Yes, and that is super important to do, and that's exactly what I did with these three tracks, right? So the first one, I set up the Knight's theme. I snuck it in a very interesting way in the second one, and then in this one, the final one, I put it more directly as straight up quoting the Knight's theme. One of the inspirations that he wanted as well was, of course, again, Final Fantasy. So you hear a version of the Final Fantasy, main theme playing throughout that. And then there's some chord string things I did to kind of allude to the second piece, and of course in a different key to kind of show that the the main struggle there was over, basically. And a reward screen, stuff like that I see in the chat. Yes, exactly, that kind of stuff. If that is what it reminds you of, then it makes me super happy, because that is that's what I'm going for. That's the goal I'm going for. And you see a lot of these in video game music. Name a video game. Name video game music that you really like, and you're gonna see these kinds of things of reoccurring motifs and themes and building intention and backstory and things like that. Yes, backstory that's more than just like, hello, I'm a cute robot. Like, there's a lot more to it. And I would be here for 2 hours if I were to tell the full story of what I learned being commissioned by them about their characters, right? But can't do that. This is only a 45-minute panel. Cool. So I have, let's see here. I have 2 more to show, and then we'll take a look around this world, because I wrote something for this world as well. So the very next one I'm going to share with you all is one that has both inspirations from another form of media, and that has their characters represented, but also from classical, orchestral music, right? So this piece that you see here, might have to full screen it and take a big look at it. There's a lot going on. This is for a friend, and their username is Draco Griff, who is a absolutely fantastic artist, and also does a lot of very cool world building. Now, as you can see from this photo, it looks pretty wild in the architecture, and some of these monstery critters are floating around, right? And so, instead of this being commissioned, this was something I was sort of inspired by. And I saw these characters floating around and just kind of like hanging out, and how unique they are. And I talked to Draco about this and to learn more. And so, in part of their OC, and as far as a original character, but also an original creation, they have this whole world of these monster-like critters who live in a microgravitational world. So it has microgravity, so it changes, this microgravity changes their anatomy, obviously, their biology, I mean, but also their structures, how their transport, their day-to-day life. So even buildings will look different to them. So this photo shows a coffee shop, believe it or not. This photo shows a coffee shop at basically a transport center. Think of it as like a coffee shop in an airport kind of thing. And what Draco did here, I think, is super cool. You see the characters off to the side. You see them on the structure. You see them in the structure, on top of the structure. They're a little bit everywhere, and I thought that was super cool. So I was basically inspired to write a piece of music for them for that. And I had to think, because since it was a surprise at the time, I don't have much reference to go off of besides that piece and maybe some of the background information that I know. So I decided to look in more places for inspiration of how do I bring this to life. I'm writing a piece, and I want the audience to listen to this piece and think, oh, it's a crowd, like feel like it's alien, right? This alien structure with microgravitational, beings and microgravity in general, and but that it's like kind of chill too, but still kind of like also bustling because it's a transport center. So I look to none other than John Adams' Short Ride on a Fast Machine, and the way that it's composed, and I thought it was fascinating because maybe the short ride on a fast machine, whether it be a train, a bullet train, a rocket, or whatever you imagine it as, would look super wild to someone who had never seen that before, right? And so maybe the music reflects that in its composition, its speed, its tempo, how different parts come in and out and layer on top of each other. And I thought the same here, because I mean, of course, we don't have anything like that in real life. This is something awesome in hard sci-fi, right? So, I took a look at inspirations from like John Adams, and then I tried to think of how do I layer that in an electronic track, right? So I will take a listen to that next. And I had to, this track I haven't released it yet on Kaijuba Music. Hopefully it comes out the 24th. If everything goes well with Sounddrop. Shout out to Sounddrop, they are awesome. But yeah, so yeah, you get a sneak peek. So enjoy of a piece that I aptly named Short Stop at a Micro Gravitational Shop. I had to be that direct. I'm sorry. All right, enjoy. Sort of layering a bunch of different parts together one by one, mimicking the structure that you see in this photo right here. All right. I think I will pause that one there. The full track, of course, I'm going to put on Spotify and Bandcamp and all things like that. But from that first half, that first third, hopefully you understand what I'm trying to convey based on just the photo there, right? Which I really, really enjoyed. It was a way that I can help describe what's on the page in a way that's not listed on the page, right? Or another way of interpreting things. So let's see here. I do have two more, but I want to make sure I don't run over on time. So I will get to the second one if I can get there. However, the next one I want to talk about is of I wrote a track called Sanctuary, and I wrote it about this place, this World Antiheat's apartment. The name of the city in their lore is Sanctuary. Now, I'm going to play it and talk about it for a little bit, but also we're gonna take a look around. We're gonna take a peek. I wrote for this particular world, because this was one of the oldest worlds in VR chat that I remember. One that was made by furries, and one that was truly really cool and unique. And everywhere you looked, there was something different about it. It had been like maybe a year or so since I had been there, and then randomly came here to join some friends, and just saw that everything was different. There were many new places. There was even more lore scattered across, interesting things around every corner. I was absolutely blown away. And I spent the next probably hour and a half walking around in this world in VR chat, and just like, wow, like, this is crazy. Like she made all of this? This is insane. And so immediately I thought of a melody came to my head, and I was like, okay, all right, I have to write this down. And what I wanted to do is express through music the vibe that I got in this world. So this world is very neon city life. There's, ships flying around. There's a planet in the background with a bigger city. Up above that I'll show in a little bit later, there's like a top deck kind of Midgar-esque city, and you just look around, it's amazing. And I wanted to get the scale of that. I wanted to get the bustling feel of the city, the kind of like noir cyberpunk kind of aesthetic going with it too, but with a melody that could be distinctive of this particular city, right? So I'm going to play this, and we'll walk around, and I will talk a little bit of the track I made for Antiheat's apartment titled Sanctuary. Alright, let's go for a ride. Yeah, I had to put in some saxophone. I love me some saxophone. So this world is not only a city, but there's party areas, there's living areas, there's a garden. There's my favorite scary boy back here. That adds a bit of mystery. Look at him. Look at him. So for the bass line, the drum part, I wanted a very recognizable kind of club sound to it. While the saxophone, I wanted something more akin to like the Midnight, and the way the music in the Midnight's music is very atmospheric, very kind of like neon with saxophone. Something I wanted to capture because that's sort of the way I feel about this particular world. Little zooming light cars and things down there. Yeah, the Midnight is probably one of my biggest inspirations for something like this. All right. Yeah, so that was Sanctuary. Let's go back to the spawn point. Oh, I don't know where it put me. Oh, I spawned somewhere else. But yeah, so not only through music can you bring things to life, such as like characters. You can give some cool looking kaiju monster like me a cool theme or something. You can give a robot a story, a straight up story theme. You can take a VR chat world and create the music for it. There's a lot of ways for your original characters to help bring them life, right? If you want to do them in D&D and tell a story and have something to connect with, you want to explore your identity, maybe a facet of your identity. You want to explore, gender. You want to explore anything. It is a very good way, not only in VR, not only in art and creation, role playing, music, whatever. It is a great way to just create and to learn more about yourself and to explore. And so I hope that you can see how music can do this in a variety of different ways. And it can also be applied to not only for personal creation, but for something like streams. And you're building a brand, you're building a character or something like that. I think it's something that's very, very important and it's very cool. And I would absolutely love to see more about it. If you have any questions, feel free to, you can message me on Twitter. My music only account is Kaijuba Music. My personal account is Fuzzy Shark Kaiju on Twitter. Feel free to ask me questions. I would love to go into the nerdy details of, music theory and song structure and why I picked what, because all of those things have a part in not only meeting the requirements of like commissioners, but also in part of you want each thing to truly speak as and represent the character you're writing music for. So, with that, thank you all so much. Again, my name is Souffle Shark. Thank you so much, VGM Together, for letting me do this panel. It was super, super neat. Glad I got to kick it all off. There are plenty more panels on this channel, so feel free to stick around. There's many about music, creation, DJing, more VR panels, and everything under the sun. There's also music performances going on in the other live stream channel, and there is a VR chat world that you can go run around if you have VR, or even if you don't have VR, you can run around in desktop. But for now, thank you so much for having me. I hope to see y'all around the convention, and y'all have a good weekend. Goodbye.